about us, and you see it in everything that he does. I'm delighted and honored to introduce our governor, Bill Lee.
Thank you, Senator.
A great finish.
And Representative Powers as well. You know, I have the privilege, and it really is a privilege. I didn't know anything about this job 6 or 8 months ago, but now I've learned a lot about it, and I've learned what it means to be a state representative or a state senator, not because I am one, but because I get to work with them, particularly during session. But these are men, both of these men, along with many others, but these two, they really do spend a great deal of their time and their energy, and they sacrifice to be public servants. They're true citizen public servants, and for you, good news for you all is they represent you very well down there. Having a relationship with the people that represent you, for the people that do represent you to have a relationship with the governor, and these two men do, and for us to be like-minded in most everything that we want to get done down there, it's beneficial to Tennessee, but it's beneficial to this district and to this region, to this area, and this county. So you should be proud that you have them representing you. I'm certainly honored to work with both of them, and thank them for being here. This is a really great crowd. I can't believe it. I mean, I can't believe it, because every time I've ever come to Campbell County, Maria and I have been graciously welcomed here. Hey, Maria, where are you? Wave your hand back there. There she is, First Lady Maria. So pleased with the way it's been. A privilege for me and Maria to do this together, and it has been a journey together. As you know, her initiative that she rolled out just a couple months ago is called Tennessee Serves. And I'm proud of that because our whole heart and the reason that we ever got engaged in this public service process is the reason I ever made a decision to run for governor was out of a real desire actually to serve. That's what a lot of the people in this room do. That's why Maria decided, rather than pick a specific initiative, she wanted to pick the general topic of serving. And so she's traveling the state, talking to communities all over Tennessee and saying, you know what, just serve your neighbor, love your neighbor, figure out who your neighbor is, and do whatever it is that works for you to serve them. And when we all engage and serve one another, then our communities are transformed and changed. So I'm proud Maria's with me here today. I got to figure out how to keep that going. I'm proud that she's here with me today, but I'm most proud about what she's doing. I said I'm honored, and I am honored. Y'all need to know that Maria and I both feel like the Lord gave us great favor to put us in this spot, and we take it very seriously. And because of that, we're very honored to be able to take our life's experiences and the things that have been long held here and be able to use those to implement real change and to facilitate substantive change that impacts people's lives for good. I say oftentimes I carried things in my heart for a long, long time, and now I'm actually getting to do in a more meaningful way what some of those things are. And I'll for example, you know, I grew up in rural Tennessee, and I have always cared about rural Tennessee, always believed that what happens in rural communities matters. So to become the governor and then to have the privilege to write and create Executive Order number 1 in the Bill Lee administration, and that executive order was to strengthen the economies of rural Tennessee, most importantly the 15 counties that are designated as distressed. That was a real honor for me. I felt like that's something that's been important for me for a long time. Now I get to do something about it. And every department, state government, all 23 of them have to submit to me this next month a strategic plan on how they're going to positively impact the economies of the 15 distressed counties in Tennessee. that is just that's just been a real honor. And it was mentioned a second ago about vocational education. You know, I ran a heating and air conditioning, plumbing, and electrical business for a long time, and worked with skilled tradespeople all my life, and recognized that we've long ignored that. And so to become the governor and to have the opportunity to create legislation with these men, work together with the legislature to create legislation that actually opens up pathways to success through vocational, technical, and agricultural education. Something that's long been missing, but I believe high school should look differently, and now I have an opportunity to do something about that. In a few years from now, high school is going to look different, and we're going to have vocational, technical, agricultural pathways for kids all over this state. And and by the way, I think that'll change the opportunities in rural communities as well, because when people attain skills, when those 4 out of 10 kids that don't go to college in Tennessee now have a skill set when they get out of high school and can more likely and quickly go to a TCAT or go directly to work based on their attainment in high school, that's going to improve their ability to stay in their rural communities so that rural communities can continue to thrive. A couple other thoughts that I carried around. Y'all know, if you heard anything about my campaign, I worked in prison ministry and a reentry program for many, many years. And I long knew, for all of those years, I knew that there was more that we could do as a society in the way that we view criminal justice and criminal justice reform. I'm a strong believer that you can be tough on crime and smart on crime. That there are people that need to be put in prison and they need to stay there. There are tough penalties that need to be assessed against drug traffickers and violent offenders. We need to be certain that swift and certain justice occurs when it's necessary. But I've also been a man, because of working with folks who are coming out of prison, a man who recognizes that if we just do reentry a little bit differently, the outcomes are going to be significant to our communities. 95% of everybody sitting in a jail cell gets out. They come out into our community, and right now half of them will recommit a crime in the first 3 years in our community and go right back to prison, which we pay for in a lot of ways besides real tax dollars. So I've always known that. I've held it. I said if I ever get there, I'm going to have an opportunity to do something about it. And together with your representatives, we put together some strong first steps in criminal justice reform. We invested in education for incarcerated, because we know if a person has a certificate when they get out of prison, they're 40% less likely to commit a crime. I'd rather invest in their education than I had invest in their reincarceration. And we invested in alternative sentencing like drug courts and mental health courts and veterans courts. We made those investments in our budget that will alternatively sentence people and keep them out of incarceration while making them pay the penalty for their crime. That's being smart. We removed expungement fees. We did a number of things, but what we really did is we just got started, from my perspective. We just got started on vocational education. We just got started on criminal justice reform. We're just getting started on education in general. I am a strong believer that if we really want the future of Tennessee to be different, if we want the future to be different, we invest in education. And the vast majority of the kids in Tennessee, the 1 million kids that we educate, are in the public school system. We have to have a strong, significant commitment to our public schools and to the public school system. That means we have to fund them appropriately. In this year's budget, we put in, in this year's budget, we fully funded the BEP. We went beyond fully funding for the BEP, which is our public school systems, and we added additional funding for teacher pay raises. We need to be certain that our public school systems, and let me just say this, our outcomes in Tennessee are 38 out of 50 states. I'm not satisfied with that. Like, we should have better outcomes than 38th in the country. That's why I believe we have to invest in our public school system. And besides just putting money into that, we have to invest in teacher prep programs. We have to invest in professional development for teachers. We have to recognize that our teachers are really where it happens. And by the way, if you're a teacher in the public school system in this county, thank you for serving. And I commit to you that we're gonna continue to find ways to strengthen our schools. And part of the ways we do that is through innovation and creative thinking, and particularly in some of the worst performing schools we have, which are in the inner city. I won't talk a lot about that, but we have some historic school reform choice initiatives this year that will give us some real insight into how we can transform the entire public school system across Tennessee. So education's very, very important to me. Criminal justice, vocational, workforce development, job creation that happens when we do workforce development. And I'll mention just a couple other things that have been really important to me besides the work in rural. You know, I'm a person whose faith is the most important thing in my life. It'll never change. It has been for a long time, and it always will be. And I actually, in campaigning, figured out that that was true for just a whole lot of people in this state. And that our faith community, our nonprofit community, our community organizations, it's a powerful force that I believe is underutilized. See, I don't think government is the answer to the biggest challenges we have, whether it's the opioid epidemic, and by the way, we've invested heavily in many ways in state government in eradicating that problem, and it's a horrific problem. I met just this morning with health officials about it. It's a horrific problem, but the government can never solve that problem on its own. The government isn't the solution to most of the things that face our societies. We have a responsibility to create an environment so that the people, the local communities, the local church, the local nonprofits can engage in a meaningful way that impacts people's lives. And so because of that, because of my belief that the faith community, nonprofit community, and the government not being the answer, we've established the governor's office, and we're about to announce it, the governor's office of faith-based and community initiatives. It is an office that's within the governor's office, and it reports to me, that will be a liaison between the faith community, the nonprofit community organizations, and the government, so that we can fan the flame of the organizations that are doing the good work out there, that we can let people in this county that are doing real work, that are serving the poor and meeting the needs of their neighbors, that we can take the people in this county and connect them with people in another part of the state so they can share best practices, share resources, connect to resources, whether financial or otherwise. We need to make it really easy for the people that are out there doing the hard work of changing our society and changing our communities. We need to make it easy. And the governor's office of faith-based and community initiatives, I believe, will do just that. So that's just a quick rundown of things that I have long believed were important. Decided through the campaign trail that those things were important to the people of Tennessee, and evidently so, because that's how I got elected. I said, here's what I'm going to do if I get in there, and you guys gave me the honor to be in this spot, and so we're going to move forward on those things. Finally, I'll say, we just started in that. There's, you know, you and I are incredibly fortunate people to be Tennesseans. I mean, look where we live. And look at the and look at the communities that we live in. I mean, look at the people in this room and the way that you are obviously engaged in what's happening, or you wouldn't be sitting here. We're really fortunate people to be Tennesseans. We live in a state that has had good leadership. We are incredibly fortunate to be named, by the way, by the U.S. News and World Report last month as the best fiscally managed state in America. That means an awful lot to us. There's a reason why companies are moving here and people are coming here, and there's a reason why this is the best place in the world to live. We're a low-tax state. We're a well-fiscally managed state. We hold back regulation. We are creating, and now I think we're pressing hard on lowering our recidivism rate. We're pressing hard to create better educational outcomes and opportunities. We have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of work to do yet, but we're very, very fortunate to be in the spot that we're in. And I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to build upon this remarkable spot that we already are in as a state. And here's the deal, Tennessee's going to be a leader in this country. We already are in a lot of ways. I mean, look, we're #1 in that particular category. We want to be a leader in educational outcomes. We don't want to be 38. We want to be a leader in education. We want to be a leader in, we want to show America how to reform the economies of their rural counties that are struggling. I think we can do that, not because of me, but because of what I have found as I've traveled this state and met with the people. We're able to do it, and I'm excited to work with real leaders like these two, and a legislature that really is intent on making life better for every single Tennessean. And I'm honored to serve every single one of y'all in that. Thank you for having me, and thank you very much for coming out, for honoring me. I'm going to take a few questions, and here's one of the things I'm trying to do. I mean, what happens in state capital is really important, but what happens out in the counties is what really matters. That's where life is, and that's where life happens. It happens out in the county. So I'm committed to continue to travel from county to county over the next 4 years and beyond, hopefully, and to reconnect with people all the time, to hear from them and to hear what's concerning to them and to tell them what we're working on. So happy to answer questions. Who wants to go first? Gary, yes, sir.
Governor Lee, what's your feelings about the heartbeat bill?
The heartbeat bill is a bill that would lower the number of abortions in this state. I am a strong believer in life. I'm a pro-life advocate. I have said that I would support any legislation that reduces the number of abortions in Tennessee, and I would support that bill. Yes, anybody else? Come on. Mayor Neil Morton, don't you have a question for me?
Well, Governor, we've got an application for a workforce development grant to help move people from addiction back into the workforce. Pastor Dent's congregation is participating with lots of nonprofits, so we're really excited to hear about your initiative in your office to have a dedicated staff there. And so that'll be working its way through Department of Labor, but also the Appalachian Regional Commission, and we appreciate your support on that.
Thank you. Thank you for leading in that. Appreciate that. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We talked just a couple weeks ago.
You can see what the story was.
That's right.
To see the flood, Campbell County.
That's right.
We really need some financial help.
Thank you. We talked just recently about the flood and the unique situation you have here, and we're looking to see what's available there. It's a difficult situation trying to get funding from the federal government for disaster, but we're requesting those funds. What else? Yes, sir.
I've been a resident of Campbell County all my life, and I've witnessed all of the things that have went on for years. And the lake area and our mountains we do well to protect them and have conservative measures to try to have retirement and folks that come here for tourism. But our lake is getting saturated, and our economy is going to suffer because of the lack of building and the things that we have depended on for some time. I would like to know if we could get some meaningful jobs in the area and have something besides tourism and some of the things we've always depended on, and still have a good. Lee Asbury said this one time, he was our federal judge, he said, if we're not careful, we're going to ruin what we'll go out there for.
Yeah.
So that's my concern.
Yeah. economies of rural counties like this one are some of the most difficult to work through, but you actually have you have unique natural resources here. Every county doesn't have this. And every county doesn't have the assets that you have. And tourism is a very important piece of this county, and it should become even more. But one of the reasons that I put such an emphasis on this whole vocational, technical, agricultural piece, the reason that rural counties suffer in a lot of ways is because kids go through the education system and then they see no opportunity in their local communities, and so they have to leave the counties to go get jobs to fulfill whatever educational payment they have. But if they're skilled in ways that, so that they actually can stay in their counties, vocational, technical, agriculture, education, education in future vocations like computer science, coding, technology educated, which, by the way, we did something called a Future Workforce Initiative that will expand STEM education all across the state as well. If we can create young adults with skills that allow them to start their own businesses and that will attract companies into regions like this, I think we can do just what you want to do, and that is to, it's not easy, but I believe that we can do it, and we can show the country how it can be done. Thank you. What else? Yes, sir.
Governor Lee, Michael Yates with Ridgeview. Thank you so much for being here. It means the world to us. I also want to thank you for infusing dollars into the behavioral health system to help elevate mental health literacy while treating substance abuse and mental health. Suicide is such a huge problem across the state of Tennessee, and I thank you for also helping bring that to attention across the state. Keep up the good work. Thank you. And
He mentioned mental health, and we did make a significant investment in the mental health safety network across the state. Addiction and the opioid epidemic are very connected to mental health, and we need people to have access to mental health services all over the state, so we've invested heavily there. We gave additional funding to the Tennessee Suicide Prevention Network because we have a 20% higher suicide rate in Tennessee than the national average. It's something that's really, really important. Let me mention one other thing too, talking about economic recovery and economic activity in rural counties. The expansion of broadband, in which we put an additional $10 million on the current funding for broadband to rural communities. The expansion of broadband is really important for a number of reasons. We haven't talked about healthcare at all, but we've got to talk about healthcare, access, quality, and cost. And that'll be available to rural communities if and when we actually begin to utilize telemedicine in a more meaningful way. You can only do that if you have broadband access. You can only do distance learning with it. You can only really run a business in a rural community if you have access to broadband. So our efforts to strengthen and to improve rural broadband are important in this idea of creating economies in every part of our state that can stand on their own. I'll do one more quick question. Unless there are none. Yes, sir, right there.
Commend you and Dennis and everybody else that works on getting your Bible class
Yes, sir.
in our schools.
Thank you.
Great things, I think, for doing for this. Appreciate your Christian life.
Thank you, sir.
It's faith, Dennis and everybody that's working on it.
Thank you. Thank you. You know what? We need to even more increase character education, civics education. We created the Governor's Civic Seal. Kids that live in Tennessee need to know why America is the most remarkable country in the nation. They need to know. And they won't know that unless we teach them. And so I'm committed to that through the analysis of our curriculum, of the curriculum in our state. We're doing curriculum review, removing Common Core from every aspect of it. So I'm out of time. I'm incredibly honored that y'all all came out. Such a great thing for me and Maria. Thank you, and we will be back because we're going to go stay in that room right over there.
Hold on, Mr. President. One thing I wanted to mention real quick, we just forgot to mention it first. We want to thank the Fields family for putting on this event, for all the desserts and all of the room and making everything available. Madeline, Scott, Paul, and everybody that was involved in it, we really appreciate it. One other thing I wanted to mention real quick, is my mic on? Here it comes. Okay, going in and out. But one thing I wanted to mention real quick was that when Governor Lee first ran for governor, and he came around to the Lincoln Reagan Day dinner at one time, and all the gubernatorial candidates came at that time. The second time we had a Lincoln Reagan Day dinner, he was the only one that came. And so he got to be our keynote speaker that night. And I saw people changing. I saw people looking at him and saying, you know, I didn't really know who to vote for, but now I do. And I had people coming up even after the event was over saying, you know, he made up my mind tonight. Or even when we went down to Katie's the next morning and had an event down there, people would walk up to me after it's over with. I was undecided, but I'm not anymore. So he's really made an impression on the people of Campbell County and of course on the state of Tennessee. So we really appreciate him being here. And I can't thank you all enough for coming out and the Fields family for putting this on. So appreciate it. One other thing, we're going to give him a little time with the media here, right here at the very end. So we got a few minutes to talk with them and be interviewed. And then maybe you'll have a chance to mix and mingle based on the schedule. Okay? Thank you all. Thank you.